All right, you're welcome back, and then we are still on Alive this morning, and we are discussing good governance as a tool to counter curves. And you know, President Bola Tinubu has employed West African leaders to prioritize good governance because it is actually an essential tool to prevent authoritarian takeovers of power in Nigeria. And talking about this topic now, I will be joining us in the studio this morning is Mr. Victor Kuchili, who is a public affairs analyst and then a political analyst also, actually. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And now, during the 64th ordinary session yesterday in Abuja, our president, who is the chairman of ECOWAS, was talking about good governance as a tool to tackle terrorism in Nigeria. Let's talk about this good governance. Do you think West Africa, or let's bring it down to Nigeria, do you think Nigeria is actually enjoying good governance?
Well, I think from the understanding of the word governance, it gives you the idea of how decisions are taken and are made with the clear goals of what it's supposed to achieve. So it's not necessarily synonymous to government, but it's just how do you go about taking decisions. And there are certain indicators that you have to use to be able to say whether you've got good governance running. Some of them include the freedom of the press. You've got the idea that you have the judiciary, which is the rule of law, that you also have a clear goal, thinking towards your social sector, which has to do with education, the quality of education, the quality of your healthcare. These are basic issues, your mortality rate. And so it's not even in contention whether we are or we are not. All we need to do is just look at the indicators, and then we have to be able to assess whether we are, going the right way. So I will say that there's a lot more to be done. One clear area that we have issues with has to do with the educational and the health sector. Already, the ideal thing is that everyone doctor should be, focusing on between 500, 600 patients. But we're talking about every one doctor in Nigeria right now is, exposed to 5,000 patients.
Wow.
So again, it's quite clear that we have a lot to do. And then we have the alarming rate of the Japa syndrome. People just leaving the finding options elsewhere to leave. And the educational sector is already, especially our higher education, is already crying loud that we are beginning to lose more and more people because they have other options rather than just staying back in the country. So truly, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to be done. There's a lot more to meet up the standard. If you come back to poverty, you are also looking at a situation where the rate is, you have about 67% of your population as young people, and close to 80% of these young people do not even have a substantive either job or opportunity to pick up business opportunities around. So again, you are very, except we don't want to tell ourselves the truth, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to governance. And I'm happy that the president is raising the question. And for me, it's one way to show responsibility. It's realizing that if truly, not only in the Gulf of Guinea, not only in Nigeria, if you want to stabilize your economy, you want to stabilize the political structure, you want to have leadership really delivering on its mandate, then the people must be able to have clarity as to what they are able to gain, how their lives are being sustained by the decisions taken by governments, whether in Nigeria or in Ghana or anywhere in West Africa and the world.
All right. And then what do you think, still talking about, the governance going down to politics in Nigeria, what do you think is missing in our leadership system in Nigeria that is causing all the chaos that is happening right now?
I'll give one word, and part of what I do is write, and I have the privilege to have written a couple of books in leadership. And I can tell you one thing that is missing is there's no personal sacrifice. Nigerian leaders do not care. It is a sad thing. It's not as if they don't know. I've had privilege of sitting with governors, have the privilege of sitting with the former president. I've had the opportunity of meeting senators. And when you listen to them, when you hear them talk about whatever plans they have in Nigeria and for Nigerians, you know they know. So what stops them from delivering? They don't care. This is a country that you're battling with the question of ASU on one side, your question of healthcare on one side, and you are comfortable spending over, so much billions or 160 million naira for cars. And again, it just shows that you don't care what's going on. You don't. The people who are docile in their own right have decided that the best thing to do is to just keep looking at our politicians. This is the best, the most economically viable venture in the whole world. In Nigeria, is politics, because we don't care about development. We just care about politics. And politicking is your ability to just mobilize people. As soon as you finish that, it's called governance. But we still stick to politics. And that is the reason why Nigerians will keep experiencing what we're experiencing. It's sad. So, you can be sure there are people who will find it difficult to have a basic meal or get to school and have a little consistency in school, get to your primary health care and be able to deliver. It's outdated, it's a cliche for you to even hear that women still go to give birth and they die. It's in some countries, you don't even discuss that people in other countries are dying at the age of over 90, and the countries are asking what actually happened. Here, we even throw up a celebration for it. We buy cows and celebrate. We say it's a celebration of life. And all the people are saying, no, at 80, at 90, we need to know what actually killed these people. And this is what governance is. This is what requires personal sacrifice. We just heard, for those who observed what Michelle Obama was talking about, and for the very first time, most people came out to the realization that there are certain limits to what the presidency can even consume. Because you consume that, and it's at your bill, you get a ticket, you get an invoice for it, you pay for it. This is the moment you become either elected or appointed in this country, you instantly become a millionaire. There are people who are in the private sector, and the moment they got into the political space and realized this is what is happening, they have sworn never to go back to the economy or doing business. Why? Because it's so easy money, it's cheap money. You wake up and 250 million to 100 million, 35 million is given 25 million, and these things run into millions, and you're asking yourself what exactly is going on here. And this is what we get. So there's absolutely no sacrifice, and that is the reason why Africa and Nigeria is suffering. Our leaders will do anything to make sure they are more comfortable than the people. And that is the reason why we can't move.
All right, now let's talk about to further strengthen the region's democratic achievement and then to uphold the right of the people to elect the leaders of their choice. You know, the president during the 64th ordinary session outlined specific measures to be taken against any member state opting for an unconstitutional change of government. Now, let's talk about, you know, the right of the people to elect whoever they want to really elect. Can you really say how democratic Nigeria is? Can you really describe how democratic we are in allowing people actually to choose the leader of their choice? You know, you've experienced so many elections in Nigeria. You've experienced how, you know, people have been bitter even after elections or maybe after the final result. So what would you say about democracy in Nigeria?
I think again, unfortunately, the judiciary has a symbol, and the symbol is you find the lady there who is blindfolded. The reason she's blindfolded is to remind us that she doesn't take decisions based on just circumstances around. She takes decisions based on facts. Unfortunately, you and I have been in this country, and the indication that that elections were conducted here and that results given are actually the results given, it's much more lesser than what we actually desire. We have seen that leaders who were popularly elected literally taken off by the courts, and the courts are beginning to shift the goalposts severally. On one side, you understand that there is a pre-election matter. On another side, certainly there's a post-election matter, that there is also the provision of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended indicated that there are certain things that are in the purview of the tribunal, and there are certain things that the tribunal cannot really discuss because there are times in terms of limits of time, limits of content giving, and every other thing that has to do with elections or primaries or whatever that is done before the main elections, which has to do with party strengthening of the party machinery. Yet this is one country that on one side judgments are given in support of what has been done in saying that pre-election matters shouldn't be brought into court. And another section is saying that no, you can even bring it and even talk about post-election matters. Now, in Kogi, you just heard the SDP candidate saying there's no need to go to court. It's raising a lot of hopelessness in the country, and this is very dangerous for our political system. If we continually work with people losing their essence of coming out to vote, then we are destroying the very fabric of democracy. Democracy is about the people. Democracy is about the choices of the people. Democracy is a decision taken by the people to say, we can share our rights with this person and we can hold you accountable. But the more we keep behaving the way we're behaving, we're beginning to ask ourselves, is it really worth it? I have met people who have told me, we are not doing these elections any longer. We're not voting any longer. They can keep deciding to do whatever they want to do. We elect and they give us something else. And these are the real questions. You cannot come and be more technical for the good of the Nigerian people. You cannot keep doing that. People must be able to have a sense of hope in the electionary processes. We cannot have an umpire who looks at us in the face and says, if you don't agree, just go to court. And we didn't spend billions of naira because we wanted to go to court. We'll spend billions of naira for you to deliver on your mandate, on what the umpire is supposed to do. And this is really, really sad. The moment the process is compromised, you actually destroy the essence of democracy. And I think that it's not been fair to the Nigerian people. We are not getting what we actually voted for. And if we cannot get what we actually voted for, we can look for options. And one of the clear options is that Nigerians you might begin to experience voter apathy, people not necessarily interested in going out to vote again. Then you have, on the other side, people who eventually secure the mandate of the people, and as I said, would want to secure their seat, secure their image. They become states, they are no longer interested in the well-being of the people. They're possibly interested in the next election. So they do everything possible to make sure that they gain whatever offices they are pursuing in the next elections. And once you behave like that, you behave as a politician, not as a statesman, and so you don't put things and structures and systems that allow for the development of the next generation. I usually say that the moment you come into office, you should remember somebody behaved in a certain way for you to meet that office where it is. And if you are going to leave the office, you must behave in a way that other people can. It doesn't end with you. And it's sad. Africa and Nigeria, we have that tendency. We look at leadership or political positions or positional leadership as the end in itself. When it's just a means, it's a role play. You come in, play your role, and move. But this is so difficult for most of us to understand. The moment we are there, we want to die there. We want to make sure, and sometimes I'm not even bothered about age. I've gone beyond the question of how old you are or whatever it is, because you truly need stamina to be able to do the job. But you have a team. You have a system. And the question is, are you leaving anything? Are your decisions able to secure the next generation? If we're not doing that, then I don't know what we're doing, actually.
All right, let's move to security issues that we have in Nigeria now. Security is actually one of the topics discussed yesterday at the 64th ordinary session. And then, you know, the leaders have resolved to urgent review of efforts to activate a standby force for counter-terrorism operations in areas infested by terrorist groups. Now, let's describe how our security operations in Nigeria is or are presently. Talking about the Kaduna bombing, what happened in Kaduna, and then, you know, that is it from the Nigerian army. And talking about how I have seen how the Air Force now is coming out, bombing places, you know, getting an accurate, let me say, accurate effort or accurate results. You know, there was no mistake and all. That was yesterday. We have heard news of them bombing in I think, in Borno, and then also bombing in Niger, where they got some terrorists. You know, I just want to know, and Kaduna state government, Obasani, has talked about this in the insecurity in Nigeria. He said the force in Nigeria is not united, is not one. There is something happening that, you know, they are not in oneness. There's no uniformness in them. So I don't know, maybe you can discuss or say your own opinion about what is happening in Nigeria, and then, you know, the insecurity going on.
Yeah, first of all, I must say that I've had the rare privilege of listening.
Hello?
To the city. Insisted.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I said I've had the privilege of hearing the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, talking about the unity of the different arms in the military. And, well, he has consistently showed that the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army, and other paramilitary, you know, organizations or agencies are actually working together. However, you know, you cannot be measured by your intentions. You're going to be measured by results. And so people are going to try to, as much as possible, to look at that and ask themselves whether what you have said corresponds to what is on ground.
Hello?
Not only dealing with its own territorial integrity, but it has gone over to offer help and has been able to do it. I think the major problem here is that we have not equipped these people as we should. That is on one side. Secondly, we have also not realized that what we're doing is no longer a formal war. You're dealing with terrorists. You're dealing is a guerrilla war. These people can walk in within you. You have uniforms they don't have, so they can actually. The tactics must change from literally use of power to the use of more of intelligence to be able to do what they need to do, and that is possibly the reason why they are beginning to get the coordinates correctly. Because somebody needs to be able to know. There are boots on ground, there are technological, you know, inputs that can be brought in to tell you exactly where these people are. And you can actually work on that. So again, on one side, we've got technology not properly being used, or we're not getting ourselves conversant with how to use them. And on the other side, we are not using a lot of intelligence. These people are not spirits. The terrorists are not spirits. They know we sometimes they are on bikes, hundreds of them in a particular way, and somebody is telling you. So whether within the military somebody is compromising them, they need to be able to purge themselves of that responsibility. But my heart totally goes to what had happened in Kaduna, and it's so sad that the fight. The military will tell you that in the case of war, casualties will, but I don't think that's the goal. The goal is to be able to identify the same people and attack them. Then we need to also have, like I said, the counter-terrorist sector or arm within the military must be able to invest in intelligence. You cannot win this war without intelligence, and that will require you being able to people in there to be able to know where they are, what they are doing, how to get them. And there are, of course, compromises. We all know that war is never fought by force all the time. Intelligence will have to be put in there. So I think the Nigerian military has got the capacity. We probably need to give them more, but they need to purge themselves of other compromises that are within them and then be able to deliver using technology.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor Kuchili, for your opinion this morning on the program Alive this morning. But before we go, what do you have to say to the viewer?
Well, there's hope. I said to a couple of friends yesterday where I was delivering a talk on the economy and development that I couldn't have been happier in another country than here. And I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be part of it. But I think that we need to start working together. We need to be hopeful about the country. Whatever angles you find yourself, put the best that you can and add value to it. The more we do that, we're able to become all better at the different angles that we work.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you this morning. And we hope we get to see you again on the program. All right.
That would be my pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. And that was Victor Kuchili, a public affairs analyst from Plateau State, Nigeria. And this is all we have on this segment. We'll be going on a short break. And when we come back, we'll briefly look at some of the trending stories happening around the world. We'll be right back.
Housing